All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our week 3 panel discussion on online scams and phishing awareness. Ladies and gentlemen, today's conversation couldn't be timelier. Every day, thousands of phishing emails, messages, and social media scams target people across our region pretending to be banks, delivery companies, or even our friends and family. These scams do not just steal our personal information, but they steal our peace of mind. But awareness is power. The more we understand how these scams work, the harder it is for cyber criminals to succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Monique Satchwell, Tier 2 Security Operations Center Analyst and Incident Responder at the Cyber Incident Response Team Division, and I'll be guiding your conversation for today. Joining me, we have 4 panelists who have experience from cyber investigations to community awareness and online safety. So together we will break down what phishing really looks like, how it's affecting us in the Caribbean, and what can you do to stay safe online. So first joining me, we have Mr. Jarvis Dabrio. He's the coordinator for Grenada's National Cybersecurity Incident Response Team. Up next, we have Dwayne Whiteley. He is the Digital Forensics Lab Manager at the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Communication and Forensic Cybercrime Division. Dwayne oversees mobile and computer operations, ensuring evidence integrity for major investigations. Next, we have Mr. Brian Hall. He is an IT professional with over 15 years of experience. As the manager of the IT and Communications Unit at the Office of the Prime Minister, he leads ICT infrastructure and development. He holds PMP and PMI ACP certifications and is a PMI authorized training partner instructor. And last but certainly not least, rather, up next, we have Mr. Giovanni Hewitt. He is the project officer in the Office of the Prime Minister, responsible for Microsoft technologies and workflow optimization for government operations. And last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Rory Evans. He has 14 years of experience in information security and IT audit. He holds a Master's of Science in Cybersecurity and a Bachelor's of Science in Computing and Information Technology. His certifications include Certified Chief Information Security Officer, Certified Ethical Hacker, Computer Hacking Forensics Investigator, among others. Gentlemen, it is great to have you all here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's dive into our first question. Now, many people hear the term phishing, but don't really understand what it means. Mr. Dabrio, how would you explain what phishing is really in simple terms?
Well, it is the hacking of the human being where you get them to do something, disclose something, give up information that they otherwise would not give up. So it is a clever trick. Normally, just as with the physical FISHING, there is bait, there is something that is appealing, but it's all about getting you to fall into the trap.
Mr. Whiteley, anything to add?
I concur. In my brief synopsis of what phishing is, it's just a digital deception in which thieves try to pose as trustworthy individuals in order to steal what is most valuable to you, which is your identity and your financials.
So, Mr. Dabrio, just following up, what are the common misconceptions that persons may have about phishing attacks?
Well, there was a time when the attacks came with lots of errors. So the messages had post spelling, grammatical errors. And some people believe that scammers were stupid, not knowledgeable. We have now come to understand that they're pretty smart, well organized, and it was just a matter in most cases of issues in translation because some scams really got repackaged. And I think that is one of the fallacies out there, that scammers are stupid. And on the other side of that is that those who fall victim to scams, that they are stupid as well. And I guess as we go further in, we'll talk a little bit about what social engineering is. And you'd realize that there is a phishing scam with everybody's name on it. There's a flavor out there for everybody. It's just
Right.
a matter of that flavor being served your way.
All right. Well, let's bring it closer to home. Mr. Whiteley, what are the most common online scams and phishing tactics targeting Caribbean people or just the region in general?
Well, phishing techniques that are most frequently used within the Caribbean region would include what is called spear phishing, which targets peculiar or particular people, a set of individuals such as executives, administrators, and so forth. We also see frauds on social media, um, messaging applications such as WhatsApp. We also see frequent emails that appear from banks or government, what's purporting to be government agencies. Uh, we see JPS for the Jamaican hemisphere, Jamaican populace. We see JPS and NWC bill payment scams. We see lottery scams. We see a variety of job recruitment scams, what we call WhatsApp impersonation. And this is a more frequent one within Jamaica, where the scammers use what is new numbers to pretend to be family members to trap the individual into sending them urgent money urgently. That is, we see social media, what is called a blessing circle, which is like a pyramid scheme, which promises you to double your money if you invest with them. So those are some of the few common scams or phishing tactics that is used within the Caribbean hemisphere.
Perfect, perfect. Mr. Evans, anything to add?
Yeah, so those are definitely some of the common ones that we've seen. And what you also have to think about is that hackers aren't necessarily only targeting individuals, but they're also targeting organizations. So they may use a specific tactic, like the social media one that Mr. Whiteley mentioned, from an individual perspective, but they could also chain that same technique and target enterprise. Because yes, you may have your phishing protective tools, your sandboxing, your antivirus on your enterprise machine, but they know that you go on Instagram, you go on TikTok, right? So they will send friend requests, start sharing videos, liking videos, even creating fake accounts, personas. So even in some of the engagements that we do, we would create LinkedIn profiles and build up the reputation of those, send friend requests, and then utilize those accounts to then target persons that they may find of interest. So that's a technique that we're seeing evolving pretty heavily now. But you still have your traditional phishing attacks, and from a broader perspective, social engineering on a whole. So not just focusing on phishing using email, but smishing SMS, WhatsApp, phishing, phone calls. We used to speak about a lot of scamming. So we don't talk about that much anymore, but that's
Yeah.
also a form of social engineering. And one of the big ones that we tend to forget is that there's still physical social engineering activities. I mean, someone walk up to you physically and pretend that they know you from school, start asking you questions. How is your mom? What's your mom name again? Where did you born? Okay, yes, I attended this school. When did you graduate? And those are certain questions that are utilized as security questions for even some banking websites. or even security questions when you're going to reset a password or an account. So those are different types of social engineering that you have to look out for. And then you can start thinking about the more sophisticated one. But I think we should have enough time to touch on some of those, like using QR codes, QRFing, using different types of techniques to leverage AI in tricking persons to think that this is someone real, but in truth, it's a deep fake.
Wow.
And we've seen deep fakes in the Caribbean. So it's not just saying what a deep fake is, but we're seeing those types of attacks and incidents occurring in the
Wow, so that's a lot of techniques, a lot of ways in which people can get scammed or phished. Now that we know what's out there, Mr. Brian Hall, I would like to ask, how can persons tell the difference between a message from their bank versus someone that's facilitating a scam?
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
man. Yeah, man. Thanks for the opportunity of being a part of this esteemed set of colleagues. So definitely one thing I would say is to really check the tone of the message. That's a big one I've realized. As I think as Sir Dabrero, help me if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Sir Jervis. In the past, if there was a misspelling, we'll know that was suspicious, but that has changed. But definitely look for if there's a sense of urgency in the mail. So if a mail comes and says, okay, you may see a mail that there's a blocked account and you need to act immediately. If there's a very important sense of urgency, then that's a red flag. Definitely, if the banking information asks for your personal info, like your PIN, bank account number, password, things like that. So generally, most banking sites will not ask for your PIN directly. Generally, another interesting one I've seen is generic greetings. So more and more banking platforms are becoming more personalized and customized. So if you're seeing a lot more generic greetings in a message, then that's something you need to think of. Because the truth is, banks have a lot of information about us. And most of them are doing pretty well in terms of money. So they can invest to ensure that they have personalized greetings. So if you're seeing generic greetings in your requests, that's something you can think of. I was going to mention grammar and spelling errors, but I think as the esteemed panelists have said, more and more phishing scams are becoming much more intelligent, where scamming and grammatical errors are really a thing of the past. So I'll mention those things, Ms. Satchwell.
Okay, Mr. W, anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, the thing is, we mentioned social engineering, I think, a couple times already. I pointed out it is the hacking of the human being, and then you mentioned there's so many different types, and that is true, but it boils down to just 7 techniques. So with all the vision, smishing and squishing and all the different types there, it's 7 techniques. One, authority. So they're going to send messages pretending to have some level, your boss, some minister, some high-ranking officer, somebody who, by default, we tend to trust. Right. We've had cases here in Grenada where they've used the name of the governor general, the prime minister, leader of the opposition. Then you look at intimidation. That is another technique that is used. I I was able to hack into your camera. I now have sensitive pictures of you pleasuring yourself. You need to do X, Y, or Z, or I'm going to expose you. Now, this is different from just authority saying I am the agent for Samsung. Send me $100 and I'm going to send you $10,000. And then you look at things like consensus, familiarity. Within our space, we've never had a Oppo sort of giveaway scam. It has been Samsung because this is one of the more popular phones. It's the same thing. A lot of the giveaway scams, you may see iPhones, but not some of the more Asian brands and so forth. And then you have 5, scarcity. 6, urgency. And I think Whitley spoke about that. Hall mentioned that as well. You know, you have to act now. They want you to act now. There's that sense of urgency. And the one that I think is most dangerous, number 7, is trust, right? Whether it is romance scams or whatever, once you look at these things, there is always the development of some level of trust within the entire framework. So what do I think you should look out for? Anything that appeals to you that you did not go seeking out, you should take a step back and evaluate it.
Wow, 7 techniques. I like that. 7 techniques to look out for. Mr.
What?
Iba, you would have mentioned deep fakes, and some persons might not be familiar with what deep fakes are, but I know that AI is everywhere now. And how is that changing the way how phishing attacks are carried out? And what should persons need to be aware of?
Yeah. Even before we go on deep fix, I think Jervis just highlighted some very good points. And
Yes.
I would also like to add, if it's too good to be true, maybe it's really not true. So be very careful. They say that you're winning a prize or Amazon gift card or a voucher, especially with Christmas coming up, you'll get a lot of those headings or subjects in the message, or that you're getting a bonus. Everybody wants to get a bonus, more money, right? So they know that they'll try those techniques to trick you. But with leveraging AI, normally you think about AI in terms of increasing your productivity and your efficiency, or trying to drive a particular value for your organization. Yes, that's a positive part of utilizing AI. But hackers are also utilizing AI to find phishing emails, to create deep fakes. And a deep fake is literally creating audio and or video to look like someone, to mimic their responses, to mimic how they would speak and address you, and even going as far as having confrontational communication with you back and forth. So we have seen that deep fakes are being used as far as that, not just creating a static video, but also having real conversation with you. So for example, we may create a deep fake, and my team has done this quite a few times, create a deep fake to pretend to be me, train the deep fake by getting audio files from YouTube's or from events like this that are recorded, and then they would train the deep fake to have the same tone, the same pauses, the same look and feel. You'll be moving your mouth, and it would be very difficult for you to pick up some of the nuances about it. But you have to look at the tone and the message. And if you really know the person, you should have certain items to identify that, okay, Rory doesn't speak like that. Why would he have that particular tone? Why would he be demanding you to pay $1 million to me right now? So if you get any videos like that or having any interaction, call the person directly. Don't even message them or WhatsApp them. Call them directly. Even though there are instances where you can bypass the call, but I think if you call the person directly and confirm with them that, did you instruct me to do this particular item, or did you send me this message, or were you speaking to me utilizing a video that you recorded? Because we have seen cases where they have leveraged deep fakes to mimic the prime minister, the president, heads of organizations. We do this in a lot of our security awareness training, where we take the CEO and we create a deep fake to show you how easy it is for you to create a deep fake, meaning using the audio, using the visuals, but we typically write the script that it says something way off. It may even be an instance where we're letting the person dance or doing certain types of dances or funny faces, but it's just showing you that if you did not know it's a deep fake, it would be very difficult for you to pick it up. So you have to be wary of how some of these information is being communicated to you. And we're also seeing deep AI being leveraged to create false news, false information, false social media posting, telling you that yes, it's safe to click on this link or you can go and vote here. Or even recently, we saw where one of the auditing firm would have reported financials based on leveraging AI, and they would have lost millions of dollars just because of that. So imagine how you're incorporating AI in your life can also cause harm. Because like, what are you uploading to ChatGPT? What are you allowing some of these AI recorder or AI readers in a meeting to listen to you, to record your information? Who else has access to that information? So it may not be a phishing email or a social engineering attack, but still they can leverage AI in so many different ways and techniques to cause harm to the end user.
Wow, wow. Even so, it really brings back to the point of oversharing. How much are you of yourself are you putting out there? That is very important. And now we see where scams are not just in our inboxes anymore. Um, as Mr. Whiteley said, but they've invaded social media and messaging apps. We're now seeing where persons get a link in their WhatsApp, and as soon as they click on it, then WhatsApp get take over. So, Mr. Hewitt, how can we protect ourselves from these type of threats?
Good morning, everyone. So protecting ourselves from these type of threats, my colleagues would have shared that urgency is one of the methods used to ensure that persons go ahead and click a link, open an attachment, slow down. We're in a very fast-paced society today. Slow down. If you're using your email and you get something and you're uncertain of it, my first point of contact is to just review the email address that sent it. The scammers really are trying, but sometimes if you just expand the email address line a little, you'll see that, oh, it's not really from whom I'm expecting it from. Let's use, for instance, the banks. They may have O's for zeros for O's and I's for L's, and so they're very ingenious ways of tricking persons. But if we slow down and just observe a little more, we could protect ourselves. Also, on social media, as you would have mentioned, Ms. Satchwell, from where my position is, we don't need to be on all the platforms. Some of the contents really just cross pollinate across the platforms. Pick your favorite tool, stick to it. So if you're on WhatsApp, you don't need to be on WhatsApp and any other messaging app because it's doing the same things. So pick something that your common contacts are using and stick to it. And whilst it will not eliminate all the threats that comes your way, it is one less social media that you really have to monitor to say, I wonder if. And if the message no sounds all right, make a call. Some of the times that extra step in making the call with whomever sent it to you, yeah, it really aids. There is something that I observe happening quite a bit on WhatsApp. I'm assuming it's a feature where someone will take over a WhatsApp number. So it's a number that you know, but somebody would have taken over the WhatsApp and then they'll say, hey, I'm going to send you a code for X per reason. When it comes up on your phone, send me the code. And then you send it and then you lose access to your WhatsApp. So some of the times when you get these things, if it not sound so sure, if you're uncertain, if the person doesn't sound like who you're expecting it to be coming from, make a call, confirm before you do anything.
Well, always confirm, always verify where you're getting your messages from. Mr. White, did you have anything else to add?
Yes, I do. You mentioned the social media platforms and limiting yourself to just your favorite tool, which I agree with totally. Because for myself, I'm really only on two social media platforms, that is LinkedIn and WhatsApp. So I really don't have that variety to be contending with. I'm wondering the what if that account gets hacked, what if my information got leaked, whatever the case may be. Another thing I would like to add to is the do not trust just the face alone on the profile picture. That doesn't tell you who that person is behind the device that is speaking with you. So do not take it for granted that that person who is actually behind that picture is the actual person that you know that is speaking to you. And as my colleagues has mentioned before, you can do some telltale. You can see some telltales. If you know that person, there are certain things that you know that person will not do or will not say to you or may not forward to you for you to be clicking on any links or taking you to somewhere that you are unaware of or you're not sure of the the the, um, the web page, the website, whatever the case may be. And it has always been said from the initial stage, verify first, call that person, check in with that person before you will actually send anything to them or do any transfer any at all. Just make that initial check. As my colleague rightfully says, stop. If it is too good to be true, maybe it is.
It's true, maybe it is, right? If it's too good to be true, more than likely it is. And what I realize now is that artificial intelligence is now forcing us to take that extra step in verifying who that person is. As Mr. Whiteley said, we can't just look at the picture and say, oh, we know the person, right? We have to do more than that. We have to call them. We have to see, did you send this message? Did you send me an email? So we have to take that extra step in verifying who these persons are. Mr. Hall, any other steps, any other ways in which persons can protect themselves?
Yeah, general tips as well. Keep your devices updated. If persons are purchasing devices, ensure that they're of a reputable company. I was recently informed of, for example, there's a friend of mine who, unfortunately, who purchased a phone online, and the phone looked very attractive. It looked like it had the best specifications. It was one of the top phones, and it was cheaper by at least, it was about less than 10% of the price of a popular phone. So he decided to buy it. And then little did he know that that phone was actually, it came pre-hijacked. So he installed his social media apps, and then in about a week or so, his entire account was compromised. So it goes back to what our colleagues have said, that if anything appears too good to be true, it generally is. And of course, keep your devices updated. Yeah, those are some of the updates. So there are some additional things I would suggest as well.
I would like to add a few too. So from the more technical side, once you're using somebody's social media platform, ensure that you is utilizing a strong password and not the same password across all other platforms, so Instagram, your TikTok. Please try to utilize different passwords across those platforms. And strong complex passwords, you may want to utilize a password manager to generate those passwords and keep an audit of it. So for example, have you had the same password for the last 5 years and one of your device was compromised, but you did not know? So you should still periodically change those credentials. Enable two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication for all of these platforms. What that is, if you're logging in with your password, username and password, or email address and password, it should prompt you for a code, authentication. There's different ways of doing that verification. It may do a phone call, it may send you an SMS or text messages. We may have a different conversation about which one is more secure, but it's best to have that second layer of authentication along with your password. And in like WhatsApp, you can also enable PIN verification. So just in case someone takes over your WhatsApp, in terms of them trying to fully gain access, they would still need to know that 6-digit PIN to restore or to gain access to it. Ensure that you're monitoring all your different devices. So if you're logged in to a social media on your phone, on your laptop, check to see what other devices are you logged into. Don't go to a common cafe and log into your WhatsApp web or your Instagram and stuff, or don't access it over open or free Wi-Fi. If you do, ensure you monitor it, ensure you log out after cases, because we've seen instances where persons have logged in and they didn't even remember that they logged into those spaces. It could be in the airport, it could be in a cafe, and someone else came, or even your Netflix. Have you ever seen cases where you go to a hotel, your Netflix was logged in there, or you can utilize Netflix for other persons. What if you're utilizing that Netflix to buy items? They could run up your credit card or even save your credit card details or try to understand what password is linked to it. So be very careful of where you authenticate, where you store your information, and try to monitor them as best as possible. So enable your security notifications. So it could be through email, it could be through in-app notification. Same for your banking applications also. Because if you fall prey to one of these social engineering tactics, they are going to start to do malicious activities. So you need to be aware as quick as possible and who to call when you're trying to recover or restore. So it shouldn't be a case where your WhatsApp is hacked and you don't know what to do. So have a plan and step in place just in case the worst scenario is you lose access to your internet banking, someone else has access to it. You must know your banking number. You must know that you can log into the app and disable certain things or limit your card. So just think about having a defense in depth approach when it comes on to all of these different accounts that you have and maintain.
Mr. Evans, just to elaborate, when you say defense in depth, what exactly does that mean, just for our audience?
Right. So having multiple layers of protection. So you can have your tools, your techniques in place, but you also have to play a role. So we have been speaking about different ways for you as the human element to identify some of these threats. But you can also layer in your strong passwords, your multi-factor authentication, having your devices up to date, ensure that you patch your devices. So even WhatsApp, all of these apps on the physical phone or laptops, ensure that those are up to date. Having antivirus endpoint protection in place, doing dark web monitoring, screening all of the applications and data that you're utilizing. So when you're installing some of these apps, don't just press allow, or next, allow access to locations and stuff like that. So it's just having a proper defense in depth approach, and don't post every single thing on social media also, because some of that information can be used against you when they're doing a social engineering exercise.
Great stuff. Mr. W, I saw that you indicated that you wanted to say something.
Yeah. So a couple things. I want to go back a bit to the whole issue of the deep fakes and phishing. I think for many people, they believe that it's not an issue unless they're giving up their personal information or they're sending money. So they think, hey, listen, if I didn't send my personal information, I didn't send you any money, there isn't a major problem here. But when it comes to some of this deep fake, synthetic, fake content, especially those around news stories, fake stories, it is not about getting your personal data in the first instance or even money from you. It may be a case of increasing traffic to a malicious page to get the views, understanding that the monetizing of certain social media platforms, it ties into how many likes, how many views, how many people can you get there. And so this is where self-awareness comes in. And it's going to come across as a big word, but really it isn't. Confirmation bias. And what that is we tend to seek out the things that align with our personal belief or what we want to be true. So if you are anti mangoes, then a story popping up saying mangoes causes cancer, you're going to click on that. Why? Because you already hate mangoes and you have a thing against it. So anything that comes out saying it is bad, you're going to click on it. And we're seeing content now that aligns with that. If there is a major disaster, an accident or so, you see lots of fake pages coming out pushing that narrative, whether it's a superstar that got killed or some building that got destroyed, something got bombed or so. And people would think, hey, well, I'm not losing any information here. I'm not losing any money. But hey, you're actually giving it mileage. You're actually getting that message to spread. You're increasing the viewership of that. And that right there is a form of phishing. And that is very popular now on many of the social media pages. The same thing goes for our children. Reports came out late last year, 2024, early 2025, that many of the bad actors, they've gone to YouTube and they are now promoting ways to get free Robux, get more life, diamonds, additional weaponry in some of the games. And those are put in little links in the description. So the youngsters, they go wanting to get to the next level, wanting to get free Robux, mind you, is a serious thing, especially within our space here. If you tell them, listen, free Robux, bring me your mother's hand, there is a very good chance you might get their mother's hand for free Robux, right? And so the youngsters, they go and they click. They're not asked for any information. They're not asked to submit any credit card details, but they may get hit with what we call drive-by malware, where by simply visiting the malicious website, your device now comes under the control of a cyber criminal. And with them getting into your child's device and bringing that device home, you understand you now have a serious problem. I mean, when you go fishing, you do not put a rock on the hook. What fish would bite that? It has to be something that is appealing. And so if you're a news junkie, chances are your phishing attack is going to come through fraudulent news stories. Now, the third thing I want to point out goes back to the whole idea of you purchasing these devices and so forth. What was not mentioned is you selling your device. So we may do it within the local space. I know Facebook marketplace, and so it's a thing. And you think that you doing a factory reset cleans the device. That does not work, mind you. And somebody capable get the device and everything is on there. The pictures you thought you had gotten rid of, some of the settings and the files that were stored there, and with the right software and a little bit of how to find it on YouTube, they will be able to get back all your stuff. And now you have this targeted attacks coming your way simply because you just wanted to get rid of your device to get a new one. What I want people to understand here is phishing is not a one thing. It has multiple faces. It comes at you in lots of different ways. Remember, it is trickery, right? And how you would trick one person is not how you would trick another person. And I think the safest way to really navigate through this is you identifying what are my weak points, what bait would have me open my mouth and get that hook in my mouth. And that is what you need to look out for. We mentioned the giveaway scams. And so scammers are not stupid. The phishing is going to happen at specific time. Around Christmas, giveaway scams, lots of that. Around Valentine's, the romance scams, the secret admirer cards and all these things are going to come out. Around late August, this is when we see the scams targeting the students in the going back to school, the free laptops, the stationery, and all these sort of things. Just as the commercial side of our society, they run these campaigns to get our money at different times. So too, the scammers organize are going to send their attacks our way, specific times.
Wow, great insights, great insights. So we have to be careful not only about how we operate ourselves online, but even our very phones, our devices, when we sell them or give them to other persons, we have to be mindful of what is on it. And factory reset doesn't erase everything either. Very
If I may, because I don't like just throwing something out there and not saying, hey, this is how I do it. So what I normally do, I do have quite a few of my older phones, but if I have to get rid of it and gift it, it goes to a youngster, who I know is going to put so much junk on there. They're going to add so many layers of crap on there that you getting it is going to be a bit of a challenge. But I try as much as possible to either hang on to it or keep it within the family. The idea of you selling it to somebody else, that is dangerous.
I thank you, Mr. W. So now that we mentioned different ways of how we can protect ourselves, um, how do we protect ourselves in terms of the persons who are less familiar with technology? Because not all of us are tech savvy. So how can we help children and older adults who may be less tech savvy and may not recognize immediate signs? And this is a question to all panelists. Mr. Whiteley, you can start with you.
Okay, great. So, in my opinion, for those persons who are less tech savvy, for those who are most vulnerable, which are elderly and smaller children, you use what I want to call simple language. You you repeat stuff to them. Do not click on links. Ask someone trusted first. Have that trust person. You use a teach method. Stop, think, and verify before you actually move beyond what you're seeing. Before you click on a link, talk to somebody first. You use I'm a visual learner, so you use role plays to actually identify what it is that is real from what it is that is actually fake. You can also use some form of parental control, and not because it's called parental control, that doesn't mean that the elderly shouldn't be under that kind of supervision or security supervision, right? So it not only goes for children, but it goes for those who are not so smart when it comes on to the online processes and utilizing their devices on a daily basis. Because what we find is that most elderly persons they watch their YouTubes, they watch their they read their newspapers, they go on some of these social media platforms such as the Facebook and the Instagram to connect with family members. And as was rightfully mentioned, these are all places where social engineering can take place. So you have to constantly remind them, especially the seniors, to not to over um, overshare their information on these platforms. And as I said before, not because you're seeing a display picture, that doesn't necessarily mean that is the individual that you're speaking to behind the device. So you can also create what is called a trust circle to encourage them to ask or consult with a family member, a close relative, a close friend who actually has a little bit more knowledge about these online spaces, and that they can now be aware of their actions.
Right, Mr. Hewitt.
And I what Mr. Whiteley said, it's indeed correct. I appreciate the fact that he said parental control should be used for the senior citizens too. Yes, there is some level of monitoring that needs to take place with both children and the elderly. My experience with both on both ends of the spectrum is that the children are a little more explorative, so they'll tend to stray away a little, whilst the elderly they're a little more into their routines. So that's something that we can appreciate and approach it from that angle. Both divides of the ages really needs your hand holding, so be patient with them. If they're asking you the questions, nobody run them, have some time, because if you're not giving them the guidance with the knowledge that you have, they will go to somebody with ill intent and nefarious ideas, and they will ill advise. So be very patient with them, monitor as best as possible, and ensure that you set up good structures for them. What do I mean? For instance, we know that all these social media platforms require an email address. We know that your banking details require an email address. Separate them. Anything that they're going to use for social media, is one email address. Anything they're going to use for the banks and so forth is another email address. And nobody tell them write down them password and put it on the dresser, because master might come in, see it, and take. So we're just going to guide them and set up good proper structures for them from your end, such that, because especially the elder, they don't know what they're doing, so they're just working with the thing. They want to go on TikTok, they want to go on Instagram. So if we can guide them through the rigors, then that is good. And as Mr. Whiteley also said, help them to know that clicking on these links, yeah, they might set up nice. They might want to read the news and them say something happened to somebody in America or over England. But at least say to them, listen, not everything that comes across here is trustworthy. Have that conversation with them. Set up a timeline. So if you can do it once every month or once every 2 months, however works for you, at least you're reiterating. Some of them may say, yeah, man, me know, but at least guide them through it such that it gives them that hesitancy to go ahead and not go ahead and click, and tell them not every social media come they need to go on it, because chances are they're going to see the same information. So have these, it is a matter of having solid conversations with both the elderly and the children, and also properly guiding them through the processes and having frequent conversations. And these conversations would be a matter of teaching and guiding.
Like reinforcement, teaching, and guiding, that is key. Mr. Evans?
Yes, so I think we have all touched on some good recommendations and tips. And the core aspect is training and education. So we have to find creative ways of educating both the children and the elderly about some of these threats. So you may want to use gamification to entice the children. So that may be training them in a game or friendly manner. So for example, each time you identify a threat and you report it, you get a reward and recognition. So they have some type of motivation. I know the parental control is definitely key. I have that enabled with my kids. They complain about it. I need more time, or I need to download this app and stuff like that. But it's a good control to have in place, because you create that boundary for them. However, you also have to think outside of the box, because we're just thinking about devices now. What if someone physically walks up to the elderly or to the child and start asking them certain questions? Or what if they start being friendly to the elderly? Where are you from? Start getting some of those security questions. So you also have to train them and educate them about some of these different types of attacks. Because we know the elderly likes to chat and chit chat. If they go to the banking hall, they may spend their time there. So someone may target them because they know their routine also. So you have to ensure that you're showing them all of the different ways that an attack can happen. And my favorite is to scare them. So whenever I'm delivering training or awareness, I like to scare people to show them this is what can happen. If you click on the link, don't just say it's bad to click on the link. If you click on the link, someone can get your username, password, they can log into your internet banking, they can transfer $100,000, and this will happen to you if you do that. If you click on this link, or if you talk to someone, this is what can happen to you, and show them that it's a real threat out there. Because it, again, hackers don't care who you are, how old you are, where you're from. At the end of the day, their aim is very simple. To either try and get access, or try and get money, or try and leverage your information for some bigger threat that's out there. So we have to educate and show everyone what are some of the threats out there. And before I wrap up, because the elderly in some instances are actually more cautious than the youngsters, because they will question a
That's
lot of
true.
things. They will even say, I don't know this person. Why is John Brown calling me? I don't know this person at all. Or they may even get very defensive in some instances. And I know for 2024, when the BOJ released their statistics in terms of the age group for breaches when it came on to financial crimes, the elderly persons were actually at a lower threat than the youngsters. So between 20 to 30, those were the targets and those were the ones falling prey because they love to click on links. They love to be on social media. They love to get rewards and prizes. So they always just click, 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 go through, get the more information and the details. So again, we kind of focus on the youngsters and the elderly, but I think everybody has to be aware. And as a nation, that's how we have to approach it. Yes, we're going to take the time out to teach them different techniques that are going to be utilized for their demographic. But everybody has a role to play. Because what if someone wants to target me and they know that I know certain security skill sets, I have the training and stuff like that. They may not target me directly, they may target a family member that belongs in the same house as me. So they may target my wife, they may target my child, they may target that device instead if it's not robust enough. And that's a way that they can get into or get a foothold into your network and then start targeting everything. So every single body has a role to play. And as humans, you're as weak as you can be the weakest link. So you can have all the technology, the training, the tools in place. But if someone still decides to write down that complex password and put a sticky note on their laptop or in their recipe book, that's a new one I heard last week. That they write down the password, put it in the recipe book, and put it on a shelf in the kitchen. So that's very secure, right? No, just don't practice some of those habits.
All right, Mr. Hall.
Yeah, man, I think the other panelists have really provided some really great insight, but definitely to zero on home the importance of awareness. So persons just need to be aware of what's going on, need to be aware of the realities. And again, kudos to Just Certain having this type of session because it's a friendly environment in which persons can really understand what's going on. One of the things I definitely want to say, especially with the elderly, we may have a perception that they're not interested in understanding what's going on. But in my experience, they're actually more interested in learning and understanding what's going on than we think. So there is a need, as a member had mentioned, of handholding and really helping them to understand the realities. One, that what you see is not necessarily all real. A newspaper, an article that you think is real may not always be real. I'm realizing that a lot of these social media sites are really in the business of keeping your attention, and they make any means necessary to do that. So definitely, we spoke about training, sensitization, awareness, and that aspect of handling. Definitely agree with parental tools because the young ones tend more, what's the word, more. So the awareness session where and the realities. That's just really just to add to what.
All right, and Mr. Davrio, anything to add?
Well, a lot has been said, but I do have a couple things I want to add. One, our gut feeling. There are times when we can feel it inside that something is off. Since the CSOT here in Grenada got started, there are numerous instances where people would say, I feel something was kind of off with that, something just did not feel right. But whatever the offer was, it was just too good for them to pass up on. And even though their gut feeling said leave it alone, they still went ahead. And that is how they get caught. The reality is criminals will always take the path of least resistance. And Rory pointed it out perfectly. Nobody is getting into my device just like that. They're pretty much locked down. But my children, my family, the people who come into my network, I now need to ensure that they also have an appreciation for how important it is to secure theirs. I am for the network restrictions and the apps that the control apps and so forth, but I also want to advise that you have to have conversations because eventually the children are going to grow up And when you remove the parental control, are they wiser for it? Because if you've been blocking everything without them getting an opportunity to analyze it, they may now be grown and still not have an appreciation for it. So, what do I tell them? Listen, nothing in life is free. And this is something people have to understand. Nothing in life is free. So whether it's a giveaway, it is an investment, what have you, nothing in life is free. And there has never been a time in human history where other human beings wanted to make anybody millionaires. So somebody reaching out telling you, hey, give me $100 and I'm going to turn that into $20,000. Where in the history of humankind has that happened? That is not something that you find happening normally, and that is where having a healthy dose of suspicion comes in. As a matter of fact, I think this is the maybe the best defense we have right now, just being suspicious of everything that comes your way. It doesn't matter if it looks like your wife, it sounds like your wife. You need to question it. Take a step back, question it, right? If you won a prize, you would still be able to claim it 2, 3 days after, a week later, right? If it is legit, they're going to give you all the information. They're not going to hide anything. So you need to have a healthy dose of suspicion. And then please understand that while we've spoken about the two extremes, the older ones and the children, you in the middle may very well be the weakest link. Within the Grenada context, I normally say, don't be too fast because fastness does get people in trouble. You're too fast. You want to see what these pictures of that celebrity is, and you go clicking. You pick up a flash drive on the ground, not realizing it was placed there deliberately, and you bring it and you plug it into your machine. Fastness would land you in serious trouble. I'm going to end with that. Don't be too fast. Be suspicious and communicate. If you need help, ask for help. Don't click and after the fact you want people to get back the money. You should never have lost it to start with. Oh, and I should mention one other thing. I think Whitley mentioned it in terms of securing the older ones. Last year, when we had WhatsApp accounts falling left, right, and center, being compromised, my advice to those capable within the households was to put the two-factor authentication in place, Rory, and do not tell grandma what it is. So even if she gives up the authentication, the first code, she does not know the second one, so she can't give it up. All right. It may seem a bit extreme, but it has protected quite a few people here. So that's my bit.
Great stuff. Before well, our last question before we open the floor, so persons from the audience can ask questions, is, let's be real, even the most careful people can slip up. And sometimes people click before they think. Well, it should be the other way around. We think before we click. But sometimes the click comes first. So, Mr. Gabriel, if someone clicks on a phishing link or sends money to a scammer, what immediate steps should they take?
Well, I'm just going to quote Rory on this, right? Rory, I hope you don't mind. Security in depth, all right? Knowing that we as human beings make mistake. It's normal. It's human to make mistake. You need to have measures in place for when you sleep up. I normally tell people, don't ask me to find your phone after you lost your phone if you did not set the tracking on while you still had the phone, right? You need to make preparation just in case things happen. And this is what those of us in the field, that's what we do. We have our VPNs and our firewalls and our endpoint solution and our anti-malware. We have these things in place. So should we slip up, one of the technology now should be able to catch it. It's the same thing. Families need to, if you can afford it, consider protection on your routers, on your home devices. So should the child or someone in the household slip up, the technology is going to catch it. But let's assume these things are not in place. If it's a case where you realize the credit card information, the debit card information was entered on a fraudulent site, there is a number on the back of the card. You can call it 24/7. Call and have that card frozen. Your online banking app should allow you to do that, freeze the account. If you realize, listen, I may have just given my password away, this is not the time you go deciding to put that off until tomorrow. I know it's 10:30 in the night. You now need to sit down and get back in there and try to recover the account. The faster you get on with the recovery or trying to get back in, the most likely you may end up getting back in. If you have an issue, it makes sense to have a technician on call. You must have someone in your circle who you can pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, I think I just messed up. Help me. Because the reality is, I think all of us on the call here, the panelists, we have a fallback person. We know who we call. Rory, you know who you call. Hall, you know, listen, I'm just going to call Whitley. Whitley is going to help me through this. We have that. And I think we need that within our circles. And I'm going to leave the rest for the guys.
All right, Mr. Whiteley, anything to add?
I agree with Mr. Jarvis 100%. We do have our persons who are IT specialists, so we can do call and have our accounts rectified. So what I want to add as well to this is the reporting measures. If you're part of an organization, you would report the phishing attempt to your IT department immediately, because your non-action will cause you to, the company or the business, to lose more than what is required, and more damage is done to the reputation of the company when you fail to make that initial step. Also, as it relates to here in Jamaica, you can report it to your local police. If not, you have what is CTOC, the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Branch of the JCF, who really and truly they investigate cybercrime offenses. So phishing, although phishing has not, in the true sense of the word, phishing is not specifically mentioned within the act, there are provisions within the act that accounts for the activities surrounding phishing. So it can be reported to their local police for them to escalate the situation when it is required. And that is my 2 cents for that.
All right, Mr. Whiteley, I love that you touched upon the aspect of reporting and how important it is. But let's say that somebody got scammed and somebody might not be familiar with the reporting measures. Who do they report to? Do they report to their local CERT, the bank, the police, or all three?
It all depends on what you're reporting. So if it is that, as Mr. Jarvis said, your credit card information was obtained by a phishing attempt. Now, firstly, you report it to your banking institution, because you do not want to wait for the attackers to remove all your funds if they have even started. No, you report it to your bank so that they can freeze the card, and then the follow-up would be you report it to JCERT, as you mentioned, or even the local police, because what we want is for persons to not lose more than what they already lost, basically. So the reporting aspect has to do with us individuals. We have to take charge. We cannot sit, because it's, as Mr. Jarvis said, 10:59 in the night. You have to take action, because it takes less than a minute to transfer some funds from your account. And we have all done it. We have all logged into our banking account, and we have all sent money to someone at some point in time. And we see that the action is sometimes immediate. So we do not want to wait until we are out of funds for us to make that first step to reporting the matter. So you report to your banking institution, and then you report to your local police personnel.
Right, Mr. W, is there anything to add on that point?
No, I'm not in agreement. The other guys have their bits to add. I'm not in.
Okay. No problem. Thank you, panelists, for your insights. I can attest that we've learned a lot throughout this session. Now we're going to have a few questions from the audience. I know time is against us right now. Maybe we can squeeze in some questions. So if anybody from the audience has a question, you can raise your hand, we'll unmute you, or you can type it in the chat. Right. Oh, we see a hand up. That's Daniel O'Neill.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. It wasn't a question, I just let you know that the chat is disabled, so no one is able to type.
Okay. Um, right, so we'll get that rectified. I see Mr. Lambert Paul has a hand up.
Are you hearing me? Are you
Yes,
hearing me?
hearing you. We're hearing you.
Okay, good. Right. So it was I have no regret that I connected. Just had a notification this morning, decided to connect, and I was greatly informed. My question is, however, um I love the fact that we are sensitized as to the phishing and different scams over there. Um so now I'll talk about my colleagues, but I think those are the competent individuals to ask. Um You know, as individuals, especially the age group that was mentioned, probably the middle-aged one, like maybe early 20s, maybe early 40s, thereabout, between that age range, we always look for another way to make an additional income. And sometimes online opportunities come and they are scams. But what my interest, however, is that you might hear, for example, the Bitcoin. You might hear about it, and there are legitimate ways to connect and to be trading or whatever it is. I think the individuals who are here, they should they can sensitize us on some legitimate ways, legitimate sites, and so on, whereby we can connect. Because sometimes individuals go after it because, hey, I want to advance, I want to do this, and then they get themselves in trouble. Um, and we are penalized because if you follow that, you lost your fund, whatever it is. So this is just what I'm asking. If there are some legitimate sites and if there is a program that can be done to sensitize the public on some legitimate sites and legitimate ways additional funds can be made other than those that are negative. For example, in the bank, they won't teach you all the counterfeits, but they will teach you the legitimate one. So when you see the counterfeit, you can identify it. Thank you.
All right. So if I may, one of the things I normally tell people to look out for when they're presented with some of these opportunities, quote unquote, is the risk. In for most of the scams, the risk is downplayed. Cryptocurrency is very volatile, meaning while you can make a lot of money, you can lose everything in the blink of an eye. So when you get 100% guaranteed, no risk, this is a tried and tested thing, and it works 100%. These things should make you take a step back. Additionally, there are different buzzwords that are thrown around in some of these cases. We have a AI model that looks at whatever, and with precision, it is able to analyze and speculate and what have you. A lot of words that are not really saying much. So these are some of the red flags that you can look out for. The truth is, within our space, there really aren't that many local opportunities, but there are those online. So my advice is, if you see something you're unsure of it, then you can just simply reach out to your national cert. You can reach out to someone who may be able to check it, and think something as simple as you just typing in that entity. So whatever the name of the company is, whether you do a Google search, DuckDuckGo, whatever engine you use to search, and put in the word scam after it, you'd be amazed at how quickly it will check and identify if there are any bodies out there saying, listen, this is malicious. Now I use bodies because they are different entities um, acting as watchdogs for a lot of these different scams and schemes. But again, if it's 100% guarantee, there is no risk you're going to have a problem, because there is no way you getting involved in cryptocurrency does not come with very high risk. The higher the returns, the greater the risk. If it's downplayed, I'm betting you're looking at a scam.
All right, Mr. Paul, I hope that answers your question. We have another question from Yanvani Martin, and the question is, how can we completely wipe out all devices? Mr. Dabber, I know you were talking about this earlier. Do you mind?
Well, I'm going to give you what we from way back knew you're supposed to do. Set a sledgehammer to it. Right? Rory and Simtai, I'm sure they have some solution they can put forward. But the reality is, if it's stored on flash memory, you're going to be able to recover it. Unless, of course, you put it through some very rigorous wiping processes, which the average person does not have access to. I've seen some cases where people they suggest multiple wipes, and that is going to give you a certain level of protection, but it depends again on what is being used to try and recover the information. So set a sledge to it is what we tend to go with outside of having access to commercial grade wiping software. And even some of the companies, the manufacturers who say, listen, once you do a factory set, all is gone, they tend to not be 100% with you in terms of, being truthful.
Yeah, that's actually one of the best way to physically destroy the drive or the device. But if you want to reuse it, then you have to go the multiple wipes route, or even when you're doing, let's say for a Windows-based machine, if you're doing the factory reset, they will give you two options, and it will also ask you what are you going to do with the device. So you have to definitely rewrite the records that are on the drive. And we do have specific tools that we also use if we're gonna take that action. But for us, it's much safer to just delete the drive, wipe the drive, and then physically damage and destroy the drive. So even if we're gonna donate our equipment, you can get parts of the devices, but like the BIOS, the RAM, the hard drives, those are gonna be physically destroyed and burnt and drilled. So um, you just don't want to take any chance of recovery, because when we're doing our forensic investigation, we also are able to recover and restore files that were deleted years ago.
And that's the thing, right? For the persons in the audience, that's the thing. Those of us who understand the recovery process, then it may seem extreme when we say, hey, set a sledgehammer to it. But we know what we're able to recover after you've had multiple wipes and you've deleted it. And it's because of that we know, listen, it does not work, right? So that is where these answers are coming from. We know how we'll be able to recover it. So we're saying, listen, if you really want to get rid of it, then you're going to have to make us work a lot harder than just a simple pass.
All right, we hope that answers your question, Yanvani. Unfortunately, time is against us and we can't take any more questions at this time. But on behalf of the CERT division, I'd like to thank all of our panelists. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. We thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you for your time and participation. And you are the reason why we have these sessions, to bring awareness. So share it with a friend, share it with a loved one. This is being recorded, so it will be on our YouTube channel later on, so you can tune in as well. And just remember, pause before you click, verify before you share, and report suspicious activities either to your bank, police, or your local CERT. In Jamaica's case, us, the Cyber Incident Response Team Division. Stay alert, stay informed, and stay cyber safe. And we encourage you to come tomorrow to our next panel discussion, where we will be discussing family online safety. And you don't want to miss that. That's tomorrow. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.